But I think there are more issues than taxing the rich.
Just because they don't pay tax does not mean they're a bad person.
It needs to be orientated so it addresses those people who've got a lot of wealth and don't pay tax.
Can't just be taxing people just because they're accumulating more wealth.
Pay your way. Pay your way.
Do you think that there should be a bigger wealth tax?
Yes, because we pay the banks, private banks, millions each year. There's billions outstanding corporation tax. We have companies that just decide they don't like to pay a bit of money. But if they want free trade and that, then they should pay towards a defence of democracy in the country. And if they don't, they're hypocrites. They can't expect us to say, oh, I don't like the idea of paying a bit more tax. I'll go and live in the Emirates.
It's a tough argument because I think there's people that have come from backgrounds where they haven't had a lot and have worked themselves up to generate wealth. So I think it's all to do with how much work you put in is how much you get out. Although I do feel like partly there's an argument that if you are earning more, should you be contributing more to help the economy? Good argument for both, but I would say that it's quite fair to be taxed similarly.
I believe in 100% tax is important for the mega rich, but I believe that you can't crush incentive either. You can't just be taxing people just because they're accumulating more wealth. But in terms of like MNCs, multi-conglomerates in that sense, yeah, they have to be on a higher tax bracket for sure.
Yeah, because everyone just blames immigration for every problem in the world, when realistically it's them paying against us.
Yes, but not as much as it is. There is still use of it because we do use it for certain stuff that everyone takes advantage of. So it's important, but not as much as it is, because originally tax was created to punish the rich, but in reality it's been punishing everyone else.
It's a dangerous move. What creates a country economy in the long term is wealth. So if you're starting to attack people because they're creating wealth, because they're entrepreneurs, you'll scare these guys. They will go to Dubai, and then what's happened is they close their companies. So there are people who are not wealthy, they work for these companies, they lose their jobs. Number two is investment. So when you have the big wealthy billionaires in US, in Europe, in Asia, they think, okay, should we go and invest in the UK? We're going to create business there, which create employment. Then you scare these guys off. It's a dangerous move.
Yes, because they can afford to pay more. If I had more, I'd pay more. I don't really see why they can't.
And I don't think it's in the nature of people who wish to acquire large quantities of wealth for themselves always to give it away. I mean, you do get people like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates who will. Well, obviously the government has to tax them at a level that allows them to stay here and also gets as much out of them as possible for the country. Whichever way it's given, might not be directly to the poor, might be in infrastructure or something like that.
We should pay more taxes for education, all the things, because the Tories made a mess of the police, got rid of the police, the probation service. Well, the water system is just a scandal. We've lost billions, it's got shareholders. We don't want that Americanism. So all that, yeah, we should have at least under extra 10%. If you've got over 10 million, extra 10% of it.
You'd be surprised how much tax billionaires don't pay. But that doesn't mean they avoid it, they just don't pay where they shouldn't in reality. I mean, we shouldn't pay that either, if I'm being honest. But I'm not really sure what would the country be like if they would have left, but I do think it would be affected, not in the best way. So although we think we don't need them and actually cause a lot of damage, I don't think it's billionaires that cause a lot of damage. I think it's the government, and they should just have better rules.
So I'm not anti-taxes. I say, look, if they're going to go against the wealth, at least promote entrepreneurship. If you're coming from a working class family, what are the chances of you becoming the managing director of PwC?
It'll be interesting to see what the budget's going to be next week and what they're going to come out with. Do I think I'm being tricked? No. I feel like a lot of the governments that have been in place, especially from over the last sort of 10 years, have struggled to implement things, so I can't just blame it on Labour. I think they've picked up a few things that maybe the Conservatives should have done better. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the new budget affects businesses, whether national insurance is going to go up again, where the taxing is going to come from, and how we're going to keep trying to support the NHS.
I think people should probably lighten up a little bit on the government. It is a bit disorganised, but it's conceivably better than the alternatives, and I think we have to remember that they were left with very, very little money by the previous incumbents. So Jeremy Hunt spent a lot before he left for no good reason. We're still paying off Liz Truss's enormous idiocies. So I think let's just have a little bit of sympathy for the people who are doing their best who are in charge. There is certainly a massive wealth gap, and that does need to be worked on. But I think there are more issues than taxing the rich. I think getting jobs for people in deprived areas and getting people into a working frame of mind is more important. Generally bringing the standards of education and living up among the poor is what we should focus on rather than hating rich people.
Do you think a wealth tax could pass in the current political climate?
More than likely not, because unfortunately we live in a world where politics is heavily influenced by these guys that have the wealth, I suppose. So the owners of the means production are very much intertwined with your political actors, and for that reason we don't ever see justice in that sense. So.
Do you think they should exist, billionaires?
Get rid of them. Get rid of them.
They absolutely should exist. A lot of things happen because of billionaires. You wouldn't have any of this unless they would have, you wouldn't have the world to, you wouldn't have great things in the world if it wasn't for them. It's not money that ruins people, it's where it comes. Just because they don't pay tax does not mean they're a bad person. It's just they have the means not to do it. If me and you could not pay tax, we would do the same thing, wouldn't we?
I mean, I'll listen to people like Grace Blakely, Gary Sanderson. They all say that you get taxed more, you've got less money, but the working class are spent, and people who are working, even the middle classes, they're spending more of their wage on necessities, whereas my understanding is from economics is basically that if you're over a certain amount of money, you don't need to spend money because you're getting passive income in all the time. I'm talking about millions, not that somebody's got a bit of lice and getting a bit more money on the pensions.
There shouldn't be billionaires. Yeah, the UK can't run without billionaires, but someone has to equally divide the money, hoard all that money. I guess if they give out their money, we would not have world hunger or any kind of problems. But this is not going to happen, I guess.
I'm not against billionaires or against anyone. I just say, look, there is a huge focus on taxes, on taxing the wealth. But are we encouraging young people to become entrepreneurs? Because for some of these guys, one of the ways for them to get out of poverty is entrepreneurship, to get out of crime, addiction, mental health, depression, substance abuse, is by them becoming entrepreneurs. We just have to be careful to not penalize or starting to discriminate or starting to criminalize people who use their own talents and skills and ideas to create their own businesses.
Yeah, in comparison to what paying, I mean, their actual income tax is probably quite high still, but it's all the loopholes that they can get away with that means they don't pay fuck all. I think it's quite immoral. No one can spend that much money. I think if they pay the taxes, then they would be helping the country. Pretty much. I think that's all they need to do.
Yeah, there has to be accountability and due diligence in relation to richer people paying their taxes. However, I feel that we need to be very careful as a society not to crush incentive. I feel there's a lot of people getting stuff for free that aren't willing to work, and that's as damaging as billionaires not being taxed. I believe that the billionaires just have the means to escape it far better due to having resources to, I suppose, hold their funds outside the country, etc. The middle class, the average man, doesn't have the means to do so. You're right on top of us with our tax rates.
In this world, they're going to exist. Yeah. Just tax them.
No, fuck off if you can't pay your taxes. Pay your way.
Yeah. Just pay your way.
I mean, they exist in Scandinavian countries but they've got the biggest tax system. They're supposed to be the happiest people. So something's working. So let's say I made $1 billion last year and I have to pay 50%. Well, I'll still going to be $500 million. It needs to be orientated so it addresses those people who've got a lot of wealth and don't pay tax, and also start getting the Channel Islands and the Isle of Man and all these other duchies and nutty things like the royal family don't pay money or we pay money to them, get them paying the taxes as well.